In our basic Connect 4 game that we built in the class, when the player wins or the computer wins, we get a print on the screen telling us who has won. We just built a bonus idea where we additionally put this in Turtle itself, on a bold font. So, for example, player has won here 4 in a row, and I see an indication over here. Now we can go further and we can draw what I call the winning line. For example, in this game, I have won this match and it's telling me player one. It's also telling me how the player is won. And this is in fact quite nice because it immediately shows you, okay, look, the game has gotten over here. And this is the reason player is one. So there's no confusion. Player one, computer one. We can put the player, let's say, approximately in a reddish color. We can put the computer line in a bluish color. We'll see how we can do this in this video. This will enhance our, a Connect 4 project from the YByte Python curriculum, which is available to everybody at www.ybyte.in. Now to do something of this sort, in fact, we have all the information available. All we need to do is to put this together in a nice way so that the desired outcome happens. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, we know a winning event has happened. We know that somebody has won this because we have a function to do that. It could be the player, it could be the computer, but we know a winning event has happened. We also know what type of winning event has happened, which means has there been a horizontal win, a vertical win, or diagonal one, diagonal two, and so on and so forth. In fact, we also know where this victory has happened. Now, what I mean by this is we know the row and column index of the circles or the cells where this victory has happened. In fact, this is all we need to draw the line. What we will do is to create a separate function and we'll use a different turtle for this purpose so that things remain clean. And we will call this function from all the 4 winning functions. Later on, as we'll see, we'll combine all the winning functions into a single function and then this calling becomes somewhat easier. Now let's take some examples. For example, in this case, let's say the player has won. Like I said, I know 3 pieces of information. Number one, I know that there has been a winner. So that's, in this case, the player. Number two, I know that this winner is a horizontal winner. So I have this information available. And number three, I also know that this winning happened when I started counting on this cell, for example, row number 2 and column number 1. So my row index and column index, the type of winning, and the winner tells me all the information. In fact, we can go further. For example, here there's been a vertical victory starting on cell row number 2, column number 4. Again, the player has won, and I'm going to draw a vertical line because I know there's been a vertical winner. Likewise, for a diagonal winner, let's say diagonal 1 or say positive sloping upward diagonal. Basically, I know in this case computer has won this starting from row number 4 and column number 2. And again, this is a diagonal winner, and we can also have a, let's say, a negative diagonal winner. Once again, we know that there's been a winner. We know the computer is the winner. We know the winner is diagonal down, and it starts on row number 1, column number 0. Now, this is just numbers, just examples, but you get the idea that basically once I know this information, I can employ another turtle to start drawing a line. That's quite simple. I just basically make the circle go here and make it traverse in the correct direction. And end the drawing there. Now, we know from our coordinate system that given, let's say, JJ, where the circle is, JJ being the row index, KK being the column index, we know that the X and Y locations can be easily found. Once we know this and once we know the direction, for example, if let's say I have one horizontally, then I know that my Y doesn't change, only my X changes. If I know I've won vertically, my X doesn't change. In fact, my Y changes and Y decreases because I come from top to bottom. If my direction is 2, I know that I have won in X as well as Y. I mean, I won a diagonal, so I must move positive on X, also positive on Y, which means I must go upwards. And here, direction 3, I must go positive on X, negative on Y. Now, just in case you're wondering how this number 300 comes by, well, keep in mind that when I'm drawing a line, say, starting from here, in fact, I'm moving 1, 2, 3 rows and let's say 3 columns, which means that each of them being separated by 100, I must move my X, for example, in a diagonal, negative diagonal case, X by 100 and also Y by 100. Now, with this idea set in fact, we are all set. We can just employ, like I said, another turtle. Depending on depending on the winner, we can choose, let's say, maroon and say again slate blue 2. Again, this is just my, my choice of colors. And drawing the line itself, it's quite easy. So let's do this one by one in code. I will get to the project that I was doing here. Basically, this project, remember, doesn't yet draw a line. But like I said, I'm going to, just like my result here, I'm just going to create a new turtle. Let's just say win, say turtle, say turtle dot say turtle. Again, I'm going to just say win dot pen up so that when it moves around, it doesn't make a line. And I'm also going to hide this turtle. So this turtle is nicely hidden. Now I'm going to write a function here to, employ this turtle. Let's just call this function, let's say draw winning line. So I just go and say, well, you know, define for me a function called say draw winning line. Now, like I said, this is going to take a few arguments. We must know who is won it, so one or two, computer or player. We must know which direction, direction again being 0, 1, 2, or 3, so horizontal, vertical, and so on. And I must know the row index and the column index, where the victory has happened. Again, we know that this information is available to us. Um, like I said, we will first compute the start point for this. Essentially, that's just computing the x and y coordinate at this row index and column index. From our coordinate system, we know that this is minus 300 plus, let's say, c idx times 100. And again, start y is, well, 450. Again, refer to our coordinate system. It will be very clear. Minus r index times 100. Now, in case you are making the board differently, in case these coordinates are different, obviously then this formula would change. Now, having established where the start happens, I can write an if else type of statement or just an if statement. I just go and say, well, look, if direction is equal to 0, which means that's a horizontal winner. So horizontal winner, I will maintain my stop to be at the same y, but I will go positive on x. Remember, x positive means I'm going to start from here and go to the right side. So I'm just going to say, okay, x positive as well, start x, start x plus say 300. Now we talked about the 300, and stop y is nothing but the start x because it's a horizontal winner. Now, having done this, in fact, I can now copy and paste this thing, but obviously I'll make some changes to sort of make this correct. So if direction is 1, that is a vertical winner. That's a vertical winner. Now, in this case, my x will not change, which means my stop x will remain exactly same as start x. However, my stop y will have to go downwards because remember, I'm checking from top down. So if I'm starting from here, I'm checking down to see if I have won a winner. So my starting y will have to be, just have to be a little bit careful. So this is a mistake. This has to be start y, and hence this also has to be start y minus 300. Again, I can just go and say, okay, look, if my direction is say 2 is a positive going diagonal, so I must move my x by 100. I must move my y also by, say, my bad, 300, right? So both x and y change by 300. And finally, if so we can just copy. So this is say d, let's call it d1 winner, and the final condition is my d2 winner, right? So I just go and say, well, look, if my winner has been a second diagonal, which is negative sloping diagonal, so I'm just going to say, look, x has to increase because look, I'm starting at this corner, going further in x, but then y must decrease, and hence y will be, say, stop y will be start y minus 300. Now, having done this, all I need to do is to basically just tell my win dot pen up. Anyway, I think that has already been done, so that's not going to make a difference. I will just tell my, let's say win dot pen size to say, for example, 10. Again, that's just a number. And I'm going to ask myself who is the winner. Remember, that's coming to me as an argument. So if value is 1, well, so okay, by the way, this is a D2 winner. So anyway, if value is 1, I can just say win dot pen color. Now I'm just trying to get not exactly red because that merges into the cells. In fact, I'm just getting some color which is kind of like red. So I just get maroon. It looks nice to me. And else, which means if the winner is 2, I'm going to set the pen color to, let's say, slate blue. Again, say slate blue, and I'm using slate blue 4. Again, this is just a choice, right? Now, having done this, I will tell my, turtle to go to start x and start y. So I go to the starting point. At this point, remember my pen for the turtle is up, so I must put the pen down. So I just go and say win dot pen down. and I just make it go to the stop and stop y, right? So I just go and say go to, let's say, stop x and say stop y. Now, in order for me to, let's say have the line displayed, I must go and do screen dot update. So it's like basically saying, look, this drawing has been drawn, but for me to be displaying it after it's drawn, I must do an update so that the line is visible to me. Now that's just defining this function. Obviously we need to call this function from all the places that we win. So I can go, let me just keep this template ready for me so that I don't, let's say mix this up. So I just go to all my four winners. Remember, my four winners are checking for horizontal, checking for vertical, and so on and so forth. So if I find that, look, my player has won something, if all same is true, so if winner is true, for example, at this point I can go and call the draw winning line. Value goes as it is. For horizontal, I'm going to use 0. For, let's say R index and C index, I will use JJ and KK respectively. Now this makes sense because basically, remember, I am using these outer loops to scan through the entire board wherever I do find a winner, and again, notice I'm forming it on a given row across all columns. So basically, for example, starting here and looking at the next four columns. Wherever I find a winner, I just go and draw a line with, let's say, 0. In fact, we just have to replicate this in all four, and that should really wait. So I just go to my vertical winner. Of course, here the winner value has to be, the direction value has to be 1, because remember, direction 1 is a vertical winner. I go to my D1, diagonal 1 winner. Again, I paste this thing here. The winning value here has to be 2. Everything else remains the same. Okay, so I've been making a mistake here. Let me fix that. So there should be no, colon on this. Should be no colon on this as well. So I just go and, let's say, do this. And finally, I get to my D2 winner. And again, this has to be 3. So this looks correct to me. We'll test this in action. When I run this, so now toss happened. Let's say player makes the first move. Let's try to win. It should be quite easy to win this. I win this. Notice I get player 1, and I get a vertical line coming up. Let's try to, take the other scenario as well. This was a vertical winning scenario. Let's try to get, so this time computer played first. Let me try to lose to the computer, and hopefully a different winner. So let's not win that. Okay, so computer won. It's a vertical winner, but the idea is the same. So I played a few more times, and this time around I managed to get my computer winning on a D2, and looks pretty cool. I get this line, and I get a message computer won. So this makes it amply clear that, look, this is where the victory has happened, and definitely enhances the game. Now, just before we wrap this up, you notice that this result turtle is being shown, and in fact my T is also being shown, the original turtle. We can fix all of this. We can just go and tell the turtle to hide. So, once I create, for example, my T and my result, so I can just go and say, look, when I, create this, I can just go and say result dot ht and also t dot ht. So now when I play this, I expect my result to be shown. So let's just get some winner. Okay, so player 1, you notice none of the turtles are seen and the player 1 comes clean. Again, I have won a horizontal victory. So very nice. I hope this was useful. Just see how logically we proceed. We took the information that we had available with us, and we use that to put some, let's say, complete this feature in a systematic step-by-step manner. That's a good way to learn programming. And that is exactly how we learn programming at YByte. Look at our website, www.ybyte.in, because we learn Python programming through such fun activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.